Good day, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Alex Sashor here at the Glen Zone with Glenn Herring. And today is a roundtable something. We're way high up there discerning with you. And thank you for your support. Thank you for your subscriptions and all the likes that you press, and continue to do so and share us, because we're a Canadian show and we're we're definitely shadow banned on platforms like YouTube and other social media. So we rely heavily on you to let other people know what we talk about, because it's important. Spread the good news, spread the love. And we're here to discern today, things about substances. What substances they found at the White House. We know Hunter Biden was there, and all of a sudden they found this bag with white substance in the White House when it locked down because, God forbid, maybe because it is open to the public, right? But it wasn't open to the public then. What if this is the white substance that not need to be there, except cocaine? Cocaine needs to be there because, we know why. Another substance that is being released, and we'll talk about this in the show, and why powers to be are not serious about anything to do with environment, not saving the planet, not saving the trees, no carbon tax, no solar panels, no wind, none of that stuff. We cannot talk about environment unless we talk about Fukushima and all this radioactive water that's being dumped into the oceans. And by now, we're so quiet by now, but years ago, there already been detected radiation off the coast of California and the western coast of Canada. And now it's basically, at this point, it's probably spread throughout the whole world, everywhere. And there is a pandemic of cancer throughout the world, and you wonder why. And yeah, probably shouldn't eat fish anymore. We talk about that and other substances that have been pushed on us for many, many years. And now we see the results and effects of those substances actually working in the way they wanted it to work, not the way they told us it's going to work. Glenn, is it pretty green? Am I being too dark about this? How you doing, my friend?
No, very good. No, let's have fun. We're going to, the propaganda machine keeps spewing out the fake news. Meanwhile, we're being shadow banned by putting out the real news. So, we want to curb the agendas. We want to expose everything. And it's going to be a little bit more difficult for us. But so what? I love a challenge. You too, brother.
Yeah, and as we say before, we're not going to be quiet anymore. This is the time not to be quiet, especially now with all this agenda being pushed against us, specifically to, this group thing to tell you how to think, what to do, and, how to be and who you are. You know who you are, brothers and sisters. So report that there's substance testing positive for cocaine found inside the White House. Glenn, do you think is there any person crazy enough to bring cocaine into the White House, like a visitor, for example?
Well,
Possibly.
All people entering in the White House have to be checked out. They're frisked. They go through a whole scanning thing because of the Secret Service, of course, of the importance of it all. But I guess what they found is probably Hunter Biden has a hole in his pocket.
Oh, he was so high that he left it up there.
No, it fell out of his pocket. The White House and the white powder in the White House, and everything's white over there. So, yeah, look, that's being exposed. Of course, people are going to say it's Hunter Biden, but that could be. I was surprised, champ, when I was a young fellow working in the clubs as a doorman in Montreal.
Yeah.
I was surprised to hear how many judges, lawyers, doctors, how many people in high-paying jobs of importance were taking cocaine. I couldn't believe it.
You know why, right? Because it's in its purest form, right? If it's not cut, whatever that means, mixed with other substances. Cocaine is a water-soluble drug, so it's out of your system within 48 hours. So you can pass any drug test. Like marijuana, for example, will stay in your system for 30 days at least, even if you just have one joint. And all other drugs as well. But cocaine is out of your system within 48 hours at most. So yes, a lot of people that do cocaine in the professions where they need to be drug tested. And I don't know, do judges get drug tested, or they just have, the top of the food chain?
Yeah, they tell them, okay, you can test me now, and then they get tested. But I don't know if they But another thing about you said 48 hours, but I also knew people who would go on these binges and you wouldn't see them for 3-4 days. They're either drinking, taking uppers, then downers, and the cocaine, and it was just a circle. And then they just collapse, and you find out they're getting like 24 hours sleep in a row. Their body is trying to recuperate from all the damage that they've done to themselves, and yet they're supposed to try and function normally in society. And these are high-end positions. These are like doctors, for example. How would you like to go see a doctor now and say, "Oh, doc, I got something wrong with me. Hold on there. I don't feel too good right now. I just did a couple of lines there the last couple of hours ago."
Well, it proves my point. All those high-paying positions of importance that you're describing, they're not there to serve people. They're there to serve agendas. They're there to follow orders from somebody else. And as long as they're following orders, their job is protected. And that's why they don't care. And that's maybe one of the reasons they have to do drugs, to numb their soul, because they know what they're doing is pure evil. And the only way they can cope with that is by doing some heavily sedated drugs. I don't know. Cocaine is not a sedated drug. But, going back to the story. Secret Services found a suspicious white powder during a routine round at the White House on Sunday that tested positive for cocaine. Substance was found in the library, which is open to public White House tours. Biden was not there at the time of discovery, but he and son Hunter were at the White House on Friday before departing for a long weekend at the Camp David.
Let me give you another possibility. Maybe the Dems now, the left, the Democrats are realizing that Biden is a detriment for them winning in 2024.
So it's a setup.
So I heard this. There was a concerted effort now to bring this guy down, even though they have nobody in the wings. But I like this guy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. A lot of things he stands for. He would be like John F. Kennedy's Democrats in the 1960s.
Not a bad idea. I'm still on the fence about Kennedy. I don't know. We should do a whole show on Kennedy by itself. But here, okay. So it's pretty funny. It's from the Daily Mail UK. So the discovery came 2 days after recovering drug addict Hunter, 52 years old. So they refer to him. You're right. So even the Daily Mail is dropping him.
Junkie.
Yeah, was last seen at the White House as he headed to Camp David with his father for a long holiday weekend. Trolls are speculating that the president's addict son is the source of illegal substance. Right? Okay. It's a White House. The library open to public. I'm sure the security is so great out of wazoo. There is not a single inch of White House that is not covered by constantly recording video. I guarantee video and audio. I guarantee there's not a missed second or not a missed inch of that property that is not surveilled constantly, live and recorded.
I could just imagine a conversation at Camp David right now. I don't know, Dad. I thought I brought 10 grams with me. I seem to be short 1 or 2.
Or it's like, Dad, it wasn't me. Why is it always me? You hate me. And also, do they know you're a pedophile? You better shut up. I don't know. I don't know which way the conversation will go. But there's no way they don't know who that is by now. There's not a single chance. They can't try. Okay, if they didn't see when the bag dropped, they can actually see who walked by that spot between Friday and Sunday when they discovered it, right?
Maybe even they placed it there purposely.
Well, that's what you're saying, and I believe it's actually true. But speaking, I don't know, Glenn.
If Hunter was there, I don't know, man. Yeah. Got a hole in his pocket.
But it's still a distraction. It's like this gun story and him making a deal with the attorney general. Now he's going to make a deal over like, we can forgive. But he's so brave if he'll come out and he'll admit that he fell off the wagon and that's his bag of cocaine. And he's like, oh my God, he's such a brave soul. He had nerves of steel in his heart to come out and tell reveal that the bag is his. Oh my God, he's my hero. That would be it. Speaking of substances, right? We worry about you, brothers and sisters, what you put in your system. And we're not talking about just spikes here all the time and, those special cocktails that pharmaceutical companies provide for us for our safety. But we also talk about things like, drugs. Stay away from drugs. Don't be Hunter Biden. That's a good story here. Like, your life will fall off in disarray. He's not a role model to anybody if you look at him and now all the evidence that comes out. But you don't have to go that far. If you go outside and you see junkies, unfortunately, they are brothers and sisters, but they're in trouble. And you see a lot of people. I'm sure you have people in your life who have addictions that they struggle with, would it be food addiction, alcohol addiction, or drug addiction, or even pharmaceutical addiction. You know those people. It could be maybe porn or sex addiction. Whatever it is, you have that. And, how often we can help them with discipline and motivation and all this other stuff. And, you could choose not to put those things into your body. You can choose not to put those things into your mind. But there's one substance that's being spread, and if it's real, and which I believe it is, and we don't talk about it. And that's another reason why I'm telling you the powers to be do not care about you in any way. And it's all a game when they use words like climate change and environmentalism and all this other stuff, because they never mention Fukushima. The first time you heard about Fukushima, even on our show, is now, which we probably should be bringing up, like things like Epstein didn't kill himself. Fukushima is still spewing radiation into the ocean. And it's true. And now it's so bad that South Korea bans Japanese seafood. And China calls for boycott over Fukushima wastewater dump. Glenn, do you remember what happened on Fukushima?
Yeah, after the big tidal wave.
It was an earthquake, right? First, it cracked. It was an earthquake, and then they had a tsunami.
The tsunami. And it created Fukushima. The plant broke down, and then you had, this was a nuclear reactor. And
some people say that was also controlled. They did it intentionally.
We never know, champ. We never know. But now they want to dump all the water. They're saying it's the level of radioactivity has diminished enough so we can dump this into the ocean now and let it disperse. And it's creating fear in other countries that the seafood is, if you eat the seafood, you're going to be like a glowworm in the dark. You're going to glow.
But apparently they have been dumping water already, and what happens here is the tanks that they used to containing this radioactive water is 97% full. By the way, here the half-life of this radiation is thousands of years. The difference between like nuclear explosion, brothers and sisters. Okay, we'll give you some science. Like, for example, Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan, when they dropped those 2 bombs, the Americans did, right? We will remind everybody Americans were the first ones to use it and the only ones to use it on the other country. And by the way, now those 2 cities are rebuilt and people live right at the epicenter and there's no radiation. And also, like places like Nevada or New Mexico or Arizona, where they tested the nuclear blasts in U.S., now the traces of radiation, even at the very center or epicenter of the explosion, is not life-threatening anymore. And now they have the livestock grazing there and all that stuff. So the difference between that and Fukushima, they use a different kind of radioactive material as the fuel source. And the water and everything else associated with it, the half-life of that lasts thousands of years. So that radiation will remain for thousands of years. So if it's released into the nature, into the water, it's there for your lifetime, at least. Glenn, so the scary part is it's not just going to affect that region, because how are you going to contain the water? You're just going to contain the water around Japan and North Korea and China? Of course not. That water is going to spread throughout all the ecosystem of the world. Would it be through the ocean's water, or is going to be vaporized and travel with the jet streams and rain here on you in Canada, and you're going to ingest it and walk around radioactive with the acid rain? I don't know how it will affect you. I mean, I lived through Chernobyl, and I remember my parents screaming, it's like, you got to go home, it's about to rain. Glenn, well, there was some nuclear disasters here, like the was it 3 Mile Island and stuff like this. You experienced that as a young man as well.
Not really, champ. I don't have a lot of fears. I mean, whatever can happen will happen. Murphy's law. So what? If we're not here tomorrow, we're all not here tomorrow. You know, you shouldn't have a fear of your own immortality.
I agree with you on that, but the point of this, why am I bringing this up as a piece of news, is because the powers to be always scream climate change and environmentalism. But then you have stories like this, and it's okay. We'll say, well, no, they do care. They just don't have another. No, they don't. Now we have a story here that UN agency approves Fukushima waste disposal plan. So they actually UN approve dumping 1.3 million of cubic meters of water into the ocean. They care about the environment. They care about you, brothers and sisters. It seems like, Glenn, there's no other solution, Glenn. I think there isn't a solution. That's why I think I agree with you. You never know. Like the train that derailed and collapsed into the Yellowstone River, like the Palestine crash in Ohio, all those fires in Canada, orange smoke in New York, they don't care about the environment. You know, on one hand, they tell you, oh, the plastic is bad, and then you have now seas full of masks, you know, COVID masks. You also have the, what else do you have? Oh, yeah, we don't no longer do plastic because it's bad, so we're cutting trees again now. You know, our carbon filters, let's make bags out of them, grocery bags. And, you know, they give you Glenn, do you know they give you now everywhere in the world? By the way, like places like New Zealand is a test ground for that. First time I experienced that in New Zealand, they were giving you the wooden fork and the knife. And now if you go like to a fast food restaurant or anywhere, takeout, not even if you go for takeout, that's what they give you. They give you a plate because it's banned in Canada, all the plastic utensils and everything else. So you only get paper stuff.
Yeah, they really care about your health, but they keep selling cigarettes, alcohol, every corner they can. But as long as they're collecting their tax, and then they say, oh, well, the tax is going towards the medical system. So 80% of people in the hospital chronically ill from cancer, they say they're there for cigarette smoking.
But they also have solution for that. If you know, that's why they implemented the suicide line. You know, like why care? Like I agree with you on this. Like you should have a choice if you want to end your life sooner, but this is not should be the primary. You know, it's the third leading cause now of death in Canada. The euthanasia. It's a fact.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of people don't want to be here anymore. Maybe they're in constant pain or misery, and that's not a way to live a life.
But it's also not. It's not an indicator that we'll live in a place that quality of life. It's not a first world country. It isn't. Let's speak of. Okay, we don't really want to bring this up too much, but let's do this. We talked about it before. Like it's another like ideology. Like the guy who owned the Titanic Sub Titan, right? He's talk about how he don't want to hire 50-year-old white guys to do the thing. So apparently, Titanic Sub's electrical system designed by college students. Glenn, if you're a rich millionaire / billionaire and you're going on to a $250,000 ride, don't you know this information? I'm sure at this point you're aware of this. That's how I know this whole information is a hoax. If you're a rich, successful man and you have all this information available to you, I will be like, no way I'm getting on this sub. There's not a single way. Like, so I don't think those people died. Where do you think those people went?
Not everybody is made to win, champ. I mean, you could have a lot of money, but still be dumb as a rusty nail. And, you would think something so dangerous where your life is involved, you would do the proper research on it. But no, you put your faith in this company whose sole existence is profit driven. So, no, I wouldn't be one of the first to sign up for that.
There was another couple, father and son. I had a video, I watched it recently. That didn't go on the trip, and they had this conversation with the family from Pakistan, the guy who owned the chemical company, was CEO of the chemical company. They had a discussion before they went on a trip, Glenn, and they had a concern. So the guys that didn't go, they had an interview, and it's like yeah, after we saw all of the red flags, was like, yeah, we're not going. It doesn't feel safe. So you're right. Maybe it's either natural selection or total conspiracy, total BS. What else is in the news, brothers and sisters? I don't know if you. I mean, I was always a big fan of Indiana Jones. I think that's one of the first Hollywood movies I've seen as a kid, and like the whole trilogy of Indiana Jones was amazing to me. But apparently, it's still like if you watch it now, like the reviews, and I don't know, like I was looking forward to it, even though the last one wasn't as great. But that's something like from childhood, Glenn. I wanted to go see it, but every single review talked me out of it. And now China predicts total collapse of Hollywood after Indiana Jones flop. Do you need China to predict that, or we already knew that?
Yeah, we've said that Hollywood has already fallen. It's a pedophile weirdo network, and that's been taken apart. Mr. Indiana Jones here, he's now 80 years old doing these films. Where has human artistry gone? Where there's so many sequels to the same movie. Like everybody wants to be like a Rocky franchise now. This costs a lot less to produce because everything is already engineered, and it's just like a retake and let's do this again. But people are fed up. It's a little boring, and this is why it's all flopping.
But it's also agendas, right? They push an agendas everywhere. So it's not necessarily just that. Like it's not that people are no longer creative, but it's also like here in Canada, for example, if you wanted to make a movie, you have to use Canadian resources. So there's a lot of foundations that will provide grants for filmmakers, but they are only given to, first of all, to experienced filmmakers in the industry, but meaning like you already have an experience making something and you have credits for it. So it's kind of you have to get qualified and certified to receive a grant in the first place. And there's other gems in place for you to do so. And also, believe it or not, and this is where the forced behavior comes in, your movies, your script, your TV shows better include some diversity into it. So if you have LGBTQ character in a wheelchair, and it's better be some kind of native, like a native Inuit person, then you have more chances of receiving the grant versus just writing any story like the affirmative action kind of stuff. So they're pushing that diversity on everybody, and before it was like, oh, we need more women. And then maybe we need more black people, or maybe we need more Asians. And now so it's always like inclusivity, but it's now reverse racism. So if you have a script that revolves around white people, then you won't get a grant, even if it's the best script ever. When?
Do you want to see a good movie this week? Go see The Sound of Freedom.
Tell me about it.
Okay? This is a movie that is not a Hollywood-made movie. It's people rebelling against Hollywood to expose the truth. It's a movie about sex trafficking, pedophilia, child sex trafficking, more or less. 2 million children every year, and that's a minimum number. Okay? Instead of going to a movie theater just to be entertained with mindless stupidity, why don't you go to a movie theater which educates you on stuff that's really happening in this world, but you're oblivious because you spend all your time just wanting to be entertained with mindless stupidity.
We have a trailer. You want to watch the trailer really quick? Let's do this.
Based on a true story.
I don't think I can do this job, Tim. As soon as I lay down, all I see are those kids' faces.
It's the test of
How
God.
long you been doing this? 12 years?
Rise up.
How do you do it?
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade.
Señor Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? Quizá puedas ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
Imagine walking into a room right now, seeing an empty bed. What would we do?
Shivering stars drift around in the sky.
We're Homeland Security. You know we can't go off rescuing kids in Colombia.
I like all
This job tears you to pieces.
So yes, Glenn, do you recommend this movie? I recommend this movie. Why? Because it brings awareness and they actually have some substance to it.
And maybe a lot more men will find a purpose in this world again, where they won't be trying to relieve themselves through drugs, alcohol, some type of stupid compulsion, or have nothing to do, so they're depressed. Idle hands are the opportunity to devil. Maybe a movie like this can give you a reason for your existence again.
And that's a good point, actually, Glenn. I'm glad you brought it up. Brothers and sisters, what is your purpose? Do you know your purpose? But it's an existential question, because what are you and why are you here, right? That brings that, so it's like, are you just born here to fornicate and have fun and have joy irresponsibly without repercussions and consequences as you think that's what this is about? Okay, not you, brothers and sisters, but somebody does. What is your purpose? There's a way to find out, but it's going back to existential crisis kind of thing. Glenn, and if your purpose, for example, now to be an administrator, lawyer, farmer, truck driver, medical professional, and everything else, I would rethink that, because AI will replace you. AI will, and it's already replaced writers in Hollywood. It's going to replace at least up to 50% of jobs in administrative sector and all other sectors that were listed in the previous show. But what else is going to do? It's even going to, it's already does. It's replacing musicians, and not only even musicians, but performers. Like you have a story here that in South Korea, there's a robot conductor, and it was conducting the orchestra. Although South Koreans' EVR-6 android can't hear, it's capable of memorizing and replicating the movements of human conductors. And in the picture there, you have all those musicians behind this robotic conductor. And I have bad news for those musicians. They will be replaced shortly as well. And how do you don't get replaced, brothers and sisters? Glenn, give them an advice.
By being the best at what you do, okay? That is the goal of your life, is to find what you're the best at. The reason for your life is once you found it, is to give it away to the rest of humanity, to show your special qualities, not to be replaced by a robot, AI, a digital equation of yourself. No, be the best at what you can be. Always show the robot, look, God created me and we created you. That's the level of importance in the hierarchy system.
That's a good advice. And also don't follow orders blindly, because that does not separate you from a robot. It just makes you one. So always discern, always know the difference between good and evil, and be good and righteous. And that's what will separate you from the robot. And that's why you would still possibly have a job. And on this note, brothers and sisters, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.